Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, we're talking the Trisha Paytas skincare launch fiasco, drama, litigation, and all of the stuff that's going on around this specific brand. I'm not focusing on the drama itself because that's actually been covered really recently by James Welsh, who's one of my favourite content creators here on YouTube, and I could honestly never do a video that lived up to the quality of the video he did that I've linked below. What I did want to do is kind of take a different tack, take a different approach, and find out what us, the consumer, can learn from this whole episode. We're going to look at the regulations, how we can protect ourselves so that when we reach for a specific brand or a product for our own skincare routine, we can protect our skin, our wallet, and make sure that we're using products which are safe and designed for our skin type. So sit back, relax, and let's see what we can learn from the Trisha Paytas skincare line. Now, I said I wasn't going to go into whole detail about this. Definitely check out James's video below, but I'll give a little bit of a brief synopsis so we kind of know what the starting point is. Well, Trisha Paytas, if you haven't heard of them, honestly, count yourself as lucky because Trisha's been inserting herself in YouTube drama as a content creator for the past 15 years. If there's ever any big scandal or any issue, particularly related to the beauty community, Trisha's there front and center, usually crying on the kitchen floor and all of that stuff. It's not content that I particularly gravitate towards, if I'm totally honest. I think I've kind of got past that. You know, as we mature in our age, I think we look past that sort of drama and think, no, not interested. But I did catch a couple of Trisha's video because they talked about their struggle with acne, and that resonated with me as someone who suffers with acne even in my mid-30s. It's still something that I am tackling in my own skincare routine. So I did catch some of the acne videos because that was something that was kind of on my radar of something that would be interesting to me. In total, wasn't totally impressed. I just didn't find the whole vibes from the video were particularly what I was looking for, so I didn't really pursue it any further. But I did note with interest when Trisha came out with a skincare brand. Now, this isn't new. You know, lots of YouTubers, influencers come up with brands, collaborations, and all of this. And I do tend to take notice of them and look to see if there's anything that's interesting from the collection. This one was Barbie Pink. It was very much a influencer-led skincare brand. It was very expensive, is what I'm trying to get at. It was very expensive, and so it wasn't a brand that I particularly reached for or wanted to try. And since then, quite a lot has happened. So people have been calling out the products for being dangerous, burning their skin. People have had quite severe allergic reactions to them. Now, I would always call out, in defense of this particular brand, anybody can have a reaction to any product, however well formulated it is, which is why patch testing, even though we're all guilty of not doing it enough, is super crucial. And I would always recommend everybody patch test a product before they apply it to their whole skin, just to see, in a discreet area like behind the ear, just to see how it relates to their skin type and whether they're going to have any problems with the ingredients. A lot of people called out the ingredients as being absolutely fine, but when they got their hands on the products, just didn't work. There's talk of litigation or lawsuits on the back of it. People are calling out where were the FDA in making sure that these sort of things didn't happen. And there's been a whole host of issues around how sanitary the products were, how they were manufactured, whether these products actually lied in terms of the ingredients that they include, particularly around the sunscreen, which again, James touched on really well. The whole thing pretty much imploded in one weekend when people gone from saying, actually, the brand isn't as bad as I thought it would be, to everyone saying, no, this is an absolute terror. And so what went wrong, and kind of where were the regulators to prevent some of these things from happening? This is what I want to come on to in the main part of this video, and how we as consumers can protect ourselves. Obviously, this isn't actually an isolated issue. There's been so many instances in the past of brands failing to live up to consumer standards and failing to protect our skin and us, the consumer. I covered this in a recent video about brands that lied. I'll leave a link to it up there. Definitely check it out, because this particularly relates to Mario Badescu, that puts steroids in their skincare products without disclosing it on the ingredients list and without telling consumers. Totally appalling, and just really nothing that should be happening in today's skincare world. So what can we do as consumers? Well, first and foremost, I want to call out that regulation isn't always as good as you think it is. So people think regulators have got us covered, they do all the work so that we don't have to. Particularly in the States, in America, a lot of people call out the FDA as being like, uphold them as being like the best when it comes to regulators, and put a lot of faith and trust in the FDA in the way that they regulate products. In truth, the FDA, alongside all of the global regulators, are not all encompassing, and they're not infallible either. They do make mistakes, and also they don't have legislation which covers everything. In the case of the Trisha Paytas skincare brand, you don't have to, if you're selling out of the US, register with the FDA prior to doing so. You don't have to submit your products for testing. You don't have to have them evaluated for safety before you actually sell them to the consumer. This might seem baffling, and honestly, it is. I don't see how this can happen. This isn't the case globally. If you look at things such as the European Union, which the UK also still follows a lot of the regulations there, Products have to be submitted. They also have to have a full ingredients list from the laboratory which formulated them, submitted for verification and checking against whether ingredients are permitted for use in those territories. You've got quite strict regulations over in Australasia. You've got some Canadian regulations which tend to be a little bit more strict than some of the US counterparts. So it's always worth bearing in mind the regulation wherever you are in the world and reading up on what your regulator actually is allowed to regulate, what they actually cover and what they don't. A lot of people might find it super shocking that brands don't have to submit products to the FDA for approval prior to sale, but that's just because the FDA regulates medicines and skincare isn't classed as medicine. The difference being is sunscreen, where in a lot of territories sunscreens are classed as medicine, in which case they are regulated in a different way than some over-the-counter skincare preparations. That's the one exemption specifically with the FDA, but in the vast cases you don't need to submit to this before you then release it to the consumer. What this does is put the onus on us, the consumer, to make sure that we're protecting our skin. And this whole Trisha Paytas saga, I think, has really blown this up and shown to us what we may or may not be missing when it comes to purchasing skincare. First and foremost, I would always make sure you know where the product, the brand that you're buying from is based. You can then cross-reference that against the regulations. Chances are, if you're buying a European brand, they'll have had to submit their ingredients list for prior approval, so there's some layer of guarantee built in there. That's not always the case, and of course, brands can lie with all of this. This isn't an infallible method, but I do think it gives some extra level of security. There are other regimes across the world that actually subject testing in more rigorous forms, and so it's definitely worth checking out where the company, the brand that you're going to purchase from is based, and what regulations they're subject to. Because we live in a global world, if you ship to one country, you're not subjected to the same regulations just because you're shipping into that country, so it's always worth bearing that in mind. Secondly, I'm going to call out trust. I love to support indie brands because I love to give my coin to the small guy, the ones that are emerging rather than big multinational corporations. However, that does take a little bit of a leap of faith because often the indie brands haven't been through the same levels of scrutiny as some of the larger multinational corporations that have been around for decades, and so you have to have trust in the brand itself. Make sure you read up everything, you check their website, you look at all the small print, and you really get under the skin, read the reviews, get under the skin of that brand and make sure that you actually trust the products that they're delivering and that they're going to live up to the claims that the brand makes. In the case of the Trisha Paytas skincare brand, a lot of people said, oh, we bought it even though we knew Trisha Paytas had a problematic past, that we didn't really like what they were promoting online. In which case, why are you buying it? If you don't have trust in the person creating the product, why are you buying it? Now, a lot of people also said that they invested in this brand because it was in collaboration with a black-owned business and they wanted to support black business owners. This is a fantastic thing to look into when you're making a purchase. Always look at who the owner is. What's the ethos behind them? What are their values and what are they looking to do with the product and the direction of the company? This is all fantastic. However, you can't just purchase from a brand because you want to support the owner. You have to look at whether it's still trustworthy and whether you want to invest. There are so many fantastic, trustworthy and amazing black-owned skincare brands out there, and I would definitely recommend, in fact, I'll leave a link to some of my absolute favorite ones below if you want to check them out. Absolutely worth investing in. It's just a shame that people invested their hard-earned cash in this brand, which was disreputable and honestly won't be delivering the outcomes that they're hoping for. So there you have it, guys. My thoughts and feelings in the aftermath of the Trisha Paytas skincare saga. Honestly, anybody that even knew one iota of thing about Trisha's past would have run a mile from this product. You just have to do one YouTube search to know how problematic they have been in the past and will probably continue to be in the future, and I wouldn't have put my hard-earned money anywhere near that. And this is why it's super important to make sure that we do our research prior to buying any ingredients, any products to include in our skincare routine. It's really important that you look at the brand, you look at the people behind the brand, you look at the regulatory environment that they operate in, so you can kind of get a full scope of whether this is a trustworthy brand and product that you want to invest in for your own skin. Also, make use of the reviews online. Join the skincare community. We have a fantastic one over on our Facebook group, which I'll leave a link to below, where people are always sharing their thoughts, feelings and opinions on skincare. And this is a really great way to get real life opinions that you can trust from people that have used the products and actually want to give the feedback on them. Hopefully this has just given you a bit of food for thought. I don't want it to be a negative video talking about all the problems in terms of regulations and how we can never be safe as consumers, because we absolutely can. I think we just need to put way more onus on our own investigation and on our own ability to protect our skin, rather than just trusting the regulators and of course the brands themselves. No regulatory system is infallible, and really the onus is on us as the consumer to put our skin first and do all the good stuff. Wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well and love your skin. Take care. Bye.